Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of SCAUK Live here on the Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK YouTube channel. My name's Gareth Cole. I will be your host again for this evening. And this evening we are talking about sleep hygiene. We'll find out why it's called sleep hygiene, I suspect, later on, because I don't really, not sure that I understand exactly why hygiene comes into sleep. But anyway, we're going to be talking about sleep hygiene this evening. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember that this is your access to experts. So if you have any comments that you'd like to make, or if you have any questions for myself or our topic expert this evening, please do feel free to just type away in YouTube chat. Let us know that you can hear us. Let us know if you can't hear us, all that kind of thing. As usual, I am not going to do this all on my own. I have my cohort of co-hosts waiting in the background, waiting to come and join us. So I will introduce you to, first of all, my partner in crime for all things SCAUK related, my fellow trustee, my good friend, my ear who listens to me every now and again when I throw my toys out the pram. Still fabulous, Joanna Balgarnie.
Hello, everyone.
Delighted. Hi, how you doing?
Really looking forward to hearing about this. It's a subject close to my heart, sleep.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. And also, if we're going to talk about sleep hygiene, we need an expert in sleep hygiene, and we definitely have one of those. A returning topic expert. We've never had a topic expert come back and talk to us twice before, but we do this evening, and I think it's purely because it's the lady who has an unpronounceable title. So I'm going to give it another go. I did say last time I'm never going to do this again, but I'll give it another go. So please welcome Claudine Keelan, who is a cardiology clinical specialist occupational therapist. There we go.
It is a mouthful. It really is. There we go. Thank you for having me back again.
Oh my word, you're very welcome. It's the episode that we did before on managing fatigue was extremely well received. We got some fantastic feedback from that. So it's great to have you here, and thank you for finding the time.
Pleasure.
Okay, so let's do some quick introductions because people might be joining us for the first time or watching this for the first time. We don't assume that anybody knows who we are. So although our names are on the screen, but so yeah, I'm Gareth Cole. I'm one of the founder members or earliest members of Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK and a trustee of the charity now that we're a charity. And I am a two-time out of hospital cardiac arrest survivor. The first one being 12 years ago. So I've lived with this for well over a decade, and I do know a little bit about the subject, but I don't know much about sleep hygiene. So that's me. That's why I'm here. And Joanna, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people why you're here?
Yes, of course. I am also a trustee of Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. I am a survivor of a sudden cardiac arrest, had a sudden cardiac arrest in my sleep 11 years ago. Interesting that it was in my sleep. So, yeah, delighted to be here. And as I say, looking forward to hearing what Claudine has to share with us.
And Claudine, same to you. Would you like to just introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about your background and how on earth you got to be on this live stream this evening?
Hi, my name's Claudine. I'm an occupational therapist at the Northern Norwich University Hospital. And as Gareth said, I work in cardiology. I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years now. And I just have a really passionate special interest in out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. So I see patients on the ward after their cardiac arrest, their journey. I think like last time, do assessments with them and see them in follow-up clinics. I also have a specialist clinic where I see people for things like fatigue and sleep and pacing and those kind of things. And so I do cardiac rehab as well. So I was just there today. So I do a whole kind of variety of things, but all specifically around cardiology, many other different things heart attacks, heart failure, but my interest is out of hospital cardiac arrests.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And I think we said it before, we need passionate people around this topic and around this subject. Passionate people are the ones that actually make things happen and get things done. So we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you being passionate about the subject. So, okay, now we have called this episode Questions from 10 Years Together. And Joanna might like to explain why it's called that. However, I think I'm right in saying that these questions weren't actually addressed at the conference. I think they came in, but they weren't actually addressed at the conference, Joanna, were they?
No, what we did at the beginning of 2025 was in preparation for the conference, we asked a series of big questions to our private Facebook group of cardiac arrest survivors. What were their issues? And sleep came up a lot. Fatigue came up a lot, which we dealt with before with Claudine. Fantastic episode that we did with Claudine before. But these questions are they're a kind of build up, not just from those responses to the big questions, but also things that have come out subsequently. As people have realized that we're beginning to answer questions that affect them, we're getting some more questions in as well. So it's kind of like snowballing, which is exactly what we would want to do.
Yes, exactly what we wanted to do. So I do have 3 questions lined up. We haven't dropped them on Claudine unannounced. She has had the opportunity to have a look at them to prepare a little bit. But hang on.
I have just thought of this, and Claudine, don't be cross and don't look cross. But having just alluded to that, I think it is really important that we start off with, having done fatigue, that we ought to say what's the difference before we go into anything about sleep and sleep hygiene. What's the difference between fatigue and tiredness, and sleep? Because they're distinct, aren't they? I think you covered it last time, but just in case people didn't see it on the fatigue episode, is that fair?
Yep. So I think last time what I said is the difference between being tired, so we can relate that to sleep, and fatigue. Mm-hmm. And we all feel tired, whoever they are, wherever, maybe didn't get just a good night's sleep before, or you've been super busy, or all the rest of it. We all feel tired. You've done loads physically in the day. That can be tiredness. Fatigue is where everyday daily living activities just take so much time and effort. And it's, I think I used this phrase from one of my patients last time, was that they said it's like wading through treacle. So just doing basic things like making a cup of tea, getting washed and dressed in the morning, going shopping, all those really basic things that we all take for granted every day are fatiguing. And I do think that is important to bring up. But obviously, if you aren't getting good sleep, you are going to be incredibly tired, and that's only going to add to your fatigue levels. Does that make sense?
It does to me, yep. Thank you, Claudine.
No. Thanks, Claudine. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to throw a question in that we haven't actually prepared. Don't worry, it's not a difficult one. I'm genuinely interested because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. Why is it called sleep hygiene?
Okay, so it's called sleep hygiene because it kind of refers to a set of what we'd say daily living habits and environmental practices. So a bit like we have good personal hygiene. You do it every day to do that. Sleep hygiene, as we'll go into it a little bit, is it's more of an environmental practice. And I think what I've learned, and I always say this is my caveat before, I'm not medical, I'm an occupational therapist, I'm a health professional. I'm an expert as far as this is what I do, but I'm not actually like a sleep expert. But these are the tips that I've picked up along the way. But what I have realized is that it is really down to be a good sleeper, as well as we'll talk through. and I am a bit of an insomniac. I struggle with sleep. But when I practice good sleep hygiene, I sleep well. And so it is about routine, daily habits, and repeating these to help yourself. Does that answer your question, Gareth?
No.
Excellent. Sorry about that.
Yes,
it does make sense to me.
I think it's become just a bit of a trendy way of saying sleep tips and top tips and all the rest of it, but it is kind of now known as sleep hygiene. In fact, it's only been like that for a couple of years.
So shall we dive into it? And I'll try and find question one, which I did prepare. These are questions that have come from the Facebook group, not from us. However, this is one that I can identify with 100%. So question one, which we'd like to have a look at this evening. I'm afraid to fall asleep because I worry it could happen again. What can help with that? Now, I can relate to that totally. I remember the first few days, probably the first few weeks when I came out of hospital. You sleep quite well in hospital because, to be honest, there's nothing else to do. And you're in a safe place and you're surrounded by people and you've got, maybe hooked up to monitors and whatever. The first night at home without that, backup, if you like, around me, I didn't sleep. I just laid awake all night because I was worried that I wouldn't wake up again if I fell asleep. So I can relate to the question. So sorry, Claudine, do you want to dive into that one?
I think firstly, after what you survivors have been through and co-survivors, mustn't forget them as well. It is absolutely natural that you are going to worry. Is this going to happen again? For some people, it happens in their own home. As Joanna said earlier, actually happened in her sleep. So, gosh, that's a double whammy there, isn't it? Where we're kind of from that. So, yeah, of course, you're going to worry it's going to happen again. You become hypervigilant, you have intrusive thoughts, your anxiety is raised. All of these things increase that worry. So what can we do to help this? I mean, the questions that we've got, it's quite a hard one because I can probably link into that as we go on. But I think, initially when you first leave hospital, I've always kind of said to someone, and I know this isn't possible because not everyone lives with someone. There are obviously single people out there and maybe not have people that can stay over. But I try and say, can you please be with someone for the first 2 weeks post-discharge? I always say that. Could you stay with a friend? Could someone move in with you? Could, can you just be with someone? Because I think even just having someone in the house with you on the initial discharge, when you have that, when you've had it, can really help. But it isn't possible for everyone. And it's really difficult when we get those patients, because I know they're just going to be, I think we talked about this before, hypervigilance is a real thing. I know that you were saying both your husbands and wives have suffered with that for years and years. So without getting into kind of like the sleep hygiene bit though, I would say, just initially, and I'm talking, I know we've got survivors here who, like yourself, Gareth, have been 12 years, but we might have some new survivors who've just had it in the last month or so. So we've got a whole kind of range of people watching. Little things like what can you do, and just immediately make sure your phone is maybe always charged and next to you, or you've got access to something, that you just feel that if you are having any emergency or anything, that you can just reach to something and have that there. So keep your phone charged. Just make yourself, if you need to sleep with the nightlight on, if you're feeling really, frightened or a bit, have environmentally look at things like that. Sleep with the door. If it's your daughter or your sister or your friend, you could just say, do you mind if you have your door open just for the first little while? These are just really basic and immediate things, but I can go into a lot more about probably when I get the next questions coming up, because I think tonight might just blend all into one, if that makes any sense.
Can I just add something into that? I think that is fantastic. I've never heard that, and I think that's really good advice. About, we take, those of us with somebody living in our house, we take that for granted, but you're right, you're on your own. That is great advice. The other thing I would say, I know we're not medical, any of us, any of the three of us, but I was hugely reassured, and so was my family, the fact that I had an ICD. And if you've had a heart attack and you've had a stent put in, take comfort from the fact that the hospital wouldn't have sent you home if they didn't think you were all right. So I think that's really important, that we do remember that although we're not talking about medical things, you're on drugs, perhaps you've got an ICD, or you've had an operation done, or an ablation done, or something has been done such that the hospital, they wouldn't let you out if they didn't think you were going to be okay. And
I think I often say in my talk at cardiac rehab, I don't have a crystal ball. None of us do. Even your cardiologist, if you sat there and said to them, is this going to happen again? They cannot tell you that it's not going to happen again. No one can. But what I try and reassure patients is exactly the things that you've just said. Not everyone has an ICD, but if you've had a stent or a drug-coated balloon or whatever it is, whatever intervention, you're also now probably on the gold standard 5 kind of nice guideline drugs. All of these things and your behaviors and maybe adjusting your diet, increasing your exercise, all those kind of things, you're minimizing your risk all the time. And as you've said, just take some, it's very easy for me to sit here and say that, but take some solace that actually you didn't know anything before, but now there are preventatives in place.
I thought of a question halfway through that and I've forgotten it now.
Good. I don't like your curveball questions.
Maybe I'll save. I have remembered it. Maybe I'll save it for later, because it may be that you're going to cover it anyway. But I sleep was, for me, it was a big issue early on, and I've got to be honest, I'm kind of a nocturnal creature anyway. I tend to function better at night when there's nobody disturbing me and annoying me than I do during the day. Which is a bit bizarre, because our bodies aren't designed to do that. As animals, if you like, as creatures, we're not nocturnal. We're designed to sleep at night and function during the day. And I wasn't like that before my cardiac arrest. So it's strange that I've become that way. But anyway, I was certainly, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say terrified. I was terrified of falling asleep in case it happened again. Not that I'd have known about it.
I think the thing is when, and I don't know about anyone else, but when you wake up in the night or when you go to bed, everything seems so much worse. When I wake up and think of a problem at 2 or 3 in the morning, I think the end of the world is nigh. Everything is just intensified by the darkness, by the silence, so you're just there with your own thoughts. And as we'll come into it, obviously anxiety, low mood, there are many reasons why the causes of sleep. Then it could be medical reasons. Obviously, we're here tonight for sudden cardiac arrest, so we've got that. You may be on a host of medication that you've never been before. Some people say that they are on diuretics now and different bits. They may have a bit of heart failure afterwards. So one of the biggest causes is getting up for the call of nature. But that can also happen just with normal effects of aging. We do then tend to have unbroken sleep as we get older. Anxiety and worry are huge around sleep, enormous. Low mood, but your surroundings as well can play a big part in it, which comes back to that question of sleep hygiene. I think that there's some tips that I can give you on that, of just your environment and your surroundings, and the disruptions that happen within that. So and there are many different stages, sorts of sleep problems. Survivors will come to me saying, I can't get to sleep. Then there are others who say, I can't stay asleep. And then there are others who say, I wake too early. And then there's just poor quality sleep as well. Mm-hmm. So there are so many different parts of sleep. It's a really intricate, intense bit. But I think one of the things, if we're going to talk about sleep, is identifying as well, what is your problem? So I'll often, like I just said, is it that you can't get to sleep? Is it that you're waking up? What is it? So first of all, identify that. What is your problem with getting to sleep? Was for either you, was it getting to sleep or was it staying asleep?
For me, it was double. It was both. It was getting to sleep, because I was probably, like you just said, probably overthinking it.
Yeah.
And then staying asleep, because as soon as I fell asleep, Sue would keep nudge me and wake me up to make sure I hadn't died.
Yeah.
So even when I did get to sleep, I got woken up again within 5 minutes. So it was broken sleep throughout the night. And then what happened, eventually, because I wasn't work. I did go back to work very, very quickly, but the first few days I wasn't back at work. But Sue was, so she would go to work and then I would go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I'd end up sleeping all morning, because I hadn't slept during the night. So not only did my sleep pattern get broke, it got moved as well, which didn't
that
help.
brings me to a nice little natural of like, what can we? I thought I'd maybe just give a really basic little bit about sleep. As your lovely curveball as you threw me on your last episode about circadian rhythms and lower dips and flying, I'm sure that another thing that survivors come to, and they say, I'm only getting 5 hours sleep a night, or I'm only getting 7 hours sleep, and we all should be getting 8 hours sleep. And it is a bit of a myth, this 8 hours sleep. Everyone thinks they need to get 8 hours sleep. And what we must remember is that every single one of us is an individual. I'm not advocating this at all, and it's actually probably a terrible example, but Margaret Thatcher was known for only surviving on 4 hours sleep a night. Now, I'm not suggesting that for anyone, but it brings me to a little bit of the background. We all have as a circadian rhythm. It's a little internal clock it's a 24-hour internal clock that runs in the background of your brain and creates those cycles between sleepiness and wake, those kind of things. So some other people might know it as your sleep and your wake cycle. That's what basically of that. And so adults, what I didn't know until I went on a course about 2 or 3 years ago, is it isn't about the number of hours you have, it's about your circadian rhythm. And an adult circadian rhythm is a rhythm of 90 minutes. And I think that's really, really important to know. It's not about the amount of hours, it's that you get that circadian rhythm of 90 minutes. So it's a sleep cycle. So you won't feel the dips and the rises of your circadian rhythm when you're all caught up on your sleep, but when you're tired, you're going to feel it a lot more. So I thought I'd just go into a little bit as well, does people may or may not have heard of NREM, non-rapid eye movement, and rapid eye movement. And within that, there are 4 stages of that. And the first one is where you're kind of, my grandmother always used to say, when you're just dropping off to sleep, she'd say, someone has just walked on my grave. You just kind of, you jolt up. It's a bit of a myoclonic kind of joke. So you're in that very, very light sleep. And then you kind of go into stage 2, and 3 where your body temperature is dropping, your heart rate is dropping, your blood pressure, your muscles are relaxing, and you're gradually getting into this deeper sleep. So they're like the first 3 stages. And then the last stage 4 is where you go into your rapid eye movement. Now, that doesn't mean your eyes are doing this like the whole night. It isn't. But what it is that is the part where you are doing all your memory consolidation. There's your brainwave activity increases, so it picks up on your eye movements, and it's this last stage of sleep that you do all your, like I say, memory consolidation. And I always say to survivors, how many thoughts, I must Google this one day. I don't know how many thoughts a human being actually has, but it must be hundreds of thousands a day. You must say, oh, I like that cat, that's blue, blah, blah, blah. But somehow we remember the really important things, the dentist appointment, I need to do that meeting for work. And that last stage, that rapid eye movement, is where we do all our memory consolidation. So getting a whole full sleep cycle is what's really, really important. So if you've gone to bed, say at 9 o'clock, this is where my maths, I was never very good at maths, 10:30, 12, say you wake up at 2, you've already had 3 full sleep cycles. And for some people, I don't think for many, that may be enough. But for others, they may need another 3 or 4. So what I try and say to, is don't get so wound up on hours. And if you wake up, that's okay. We just got to try and get you back to sleep again to get that full cycle.
Wow. Okay, that's a deeper explanation than. I mean, I've heard of REM sleep, but I didn't know there were 4 stages. I must admit. I know.
So there's non-rapid. Yeah, it's non-rapid and non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement, and there's 4 stages within that kind of 90 minutes if we're just going to make it very basic. So yeah, but the thing with that is when you're asleep, and I think Joanna, you alluded to this earlier, sleep and tiredness, when you're actually sleep deprived and you have that sleep deprivation, it can also lead to deteriorating physical health as well. It has a knock-on effect on everything. Lack of sleep can cause so many things. Weight gain, it can lower your immune system, it can affect your mental well-being, it can lower your sex drive, it can affect your concentration. It has such a detrimental effect to your everyday living tasks.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we? I don't know whether we've just covered it, but shall I bring up question 2? I'm sure one leads into the next, leads into the next. But before we do that, how much does your quality, I guess quality of sleep, how much is that affected by, in inverted commas, normality? And the reason I'm asking that is, for example, several years ago now, Sue and I moved into a house which had the main bedroom was at the front of the house. So there was a road out the front, and then the other side of the road was a railway track. And I was concerned that the trains that were running all night were going to keep us awake, and they did for a week or a couple of weeks. But then it became normal, and the trains would whiz past. You wouldn't notice them, and they never bothered us again until COVID. And when COVID hit, the train stopped. And I actually found myself waking up at night thinking, why is there no trains? So the normal sort of, is your brain actually still doing stuff and still analysing what's going on around you, even though you're asleep?
Oh, gosh. You might need a neurologist on for that one. I'm that might be a bit above my, I mean, what I do know is,
why was I suddenly I realised that I was waking up at the time that the train would normally go past, and it wasn't going past, and so something had triggered and woken me up.
Well, because look, I think you're right. It becomes your new normal of what you've adapted to, because lots of people now listen to download apps with things called white noise. Have people heard of that? Yeah. And I know that a lot of my when my sister had my lovely little nephew recently, or in the last couple of years, they put this thing in his bedroom, like an egg that plays white noise now. I mean, I never had that with my kids in my day. They just had to be put in a cot and go to sleep. But now they have this white noise on in the background, and it then becomes their normal to go to sleep with that. So yes, there must be something that we adapt to that, but I cannot give you the inner and outer medical reason for that.
I think it's definitely true, though. It is definitely true, because we lived next to an airport at one time, and people would come and stay, and they go, "How can you sleep with that?" And I would say, "With what? What's the problem?" Yeah. And there'd be a jet going across, and I hadn't even heard it because I was so used to it. So I guess that works in with you, Gareth, the opposite way round. That it's the absence of the normal in the same way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fascinating how we can get used to anything. And the other thing you're saying about the white noise, that's actually a torture method. And so
it doesn't work for me, but it works for a lot of people.
They're using it on babies. Although again, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people though really, really find it really, really helpful though. So, and I think that's another thing, that you just have to find what works for you. Some people relaxing like Peruvian panpipes. I hate Peruvian panpipes. But I like the sound of rain. I love the sound of rain, and I love the sound of waves. But for other people, that could be highly annoying. So it's just finding out what is right for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up question 2.
Yeah.
It's already 7:30. We've done 30 minutes and we've only got an hour. So
time flies when you're having fun.
I'll bring up question 2. So there we go. Do naps help with recovery, or should I limit them? That's a great question, I think.
Yeah.
It's a really great question. I'm a big fan of naps. Just so you know.
So I think, certainly for anyone who's had a recent cardiac arrest, naps are essential. Your body has been under significant stress. And as we know, that sleep is vital for both physical and psychological and emotional recovery. So again, I say to patients when they leave, it goes back to your fantastic thing about fatigue, your leaflet there. Listen to your body. If you feel in the afternoon that you need to have a nap, that's absolutely fine. What I say, though, is try and limit that nap to a maximum of 30 minutes. Now, again, very difficult if you live on your own because you haven't got anyone there to prod you to wake you up. But on the basis that I've said to a lot of people, can you go home with someone or blah, blah, blah. I'll say to the husband, wife, partner, sister, whoever it is, just, yes, let them nap. But maybe after about 30, 40 minutes, just wake them up. Because going back to that circadian rhythm that I just told you, or about our little internal body clock, it's going to affect that, because that is what keeps us knowing when it's night and when it is day. So by all means, have a rest, but don't do it for hours and hours. I was at cardiac rehab today and saw one of I'll have to call him a patient because they were my patient. I'm not from that there, but and they were saying, I'm having 2 or 3 hours sleep in the afternoon and I'm not sleeping at night. And I said, no, you're not going to, because it's too long. So what try and do is reduce that nap, because it does have an impact on your circadian rhythm. So
you're talking about reducing the duration rather than the right. Okay.
Absolutely, listen to your body. Yes. I remember, Joanna, on our last session as well, you were saying that sometimes, I remember I was saying go back to fatigue rather than the tiredness, that after you go sometimes out, meet your girlfriends and they'll say, we've got a room at the, and you'll go and have a little nap. Absolutely fine. But just try not to sleep for hours and hours.
Can I just give one caveat to that?
Yeah.
And again,
absolutely.
I follow completely what you say, and I love how you keep saying, but it's everyone is different, and follow your body. But when I very first came out of hospital, and I was only in there for a week, which is quite 6 days, which is shorter than most people. When I came out, I must say, I was sleeping. It was driving everyone mad. I was sleeping up to 20 hours a day. And I just think that was still part of my recovery. So the only reason I'm saying that is that if someone's come back and if I'd been woken up after 40 minutes at that stage, I don't think that would have been helpful to me. So it is about negotiating that with how you're doing and how you're feeling. I slept for hours and I never had any trouble. I never have any trouble getting to sleep. I'm just lucky.
And I think that's a really good point, like, because that's what I said. We've got people here who maybe newly had one, people that haven't. And I would certainly, if that is what you needed at that time, and it wasn't, you were sleeping for more like 20 to, you obviously, your body needed that as part of your recovery. Yes. I think going forward, and then people that are trying to just get into, again, though, it's, how long's a piece of string?
Wasn't it? I'm sorry.
No. It's so true though, because everyone is so different. And
it didn't last for long, but it was for a period of time. Yeah. Perhaps other people would still be in the hospital, perhaps because they were put in comas, which many of us are. I wasn't. So I suspect that because of that, I needed that time. Yeah. And I always said, when the girls were going, "You're asleep all the time," I'd say, but that means my body's healing. So that's what I took. I thought, that's what my body needs. I'm doing it. I'm not being a pain. I'm not asleep because I'm lazy.
Sleep helps with cognitive improvement as well. You need that. It's not just the physical, it's that cognitive, repair as well. So yeah, absolutely. I think when you first come out, you just have to listen to what you need. I think let's put it more in relation to, if you're having sleep problems further down the line, then try and, we've probably got survivors on here who, a bit like yourself, Gareth, might have had it 12 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, and they're having problems with their sleep. I'm talking about a significant amount of time afterwards. That's maybe when we look at that and, try and limit. So that's the second part of it. Yes, naps help with your recovery. Do with what your body feels that you need. But then as you're starting to get back into your routines, your normality, I hate that word, but that kind of thing, and it is affecting your sleep at night, then we should look at limiting them.
I'm going to avoid asking you about night shift workers.
I know. I was about to say night shift workers, I absolutely feel for, and it's terrible. It's so hard, because the other thing is what's crucial, as we're going to go on, because I am aware of the time. God, it goes so quickly, doesn't it? I think I could do another episode on this one. Is that their circadian rhythm is completely the other way around, or and they might do 2 night shifts, but then they're expected to be great for the next 3 day shifts or all the rest of it. So when someone does come to me and they say, I'm a nurse and I work night shifts, I go, okay. it's really hard.
I many years ago, longer ago than I care to remember, I did used to work nights, and it was interesting because the company that, not the company I was working for because I was contracted, but the big company that was looking after everybody, they recognised how much harder it was to actually work at night than during the day, and we worked 12-hour shifts, and your choice was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So night shift was 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning. But what was interesting is there's only 4 nights, because the night shift started at 6 o'clock on Monday evening and it finished at 6 o'clock on Friday morning. So you actually only worked 4 nights.
Yeah.
And if you work days, you work 5 days, but you got the same money. And they said it's because it's so much harder to actually work 48 hours through the night and then actually enjoy the weekend, because your body clock's all messed up. So you think that you've got, you've worked 4 nights, you've now got a nice long weekend, Friday morning until Monday night. You haven't, because you can't do anything with it because you're asleep at the wrong time of day.
That little internal circadian rhythm is going,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that was a long time ago. I don't even want to remember that. And I honestly, I remember one morning that I think I got home and I fell asleep quite quickly. And then I woke up and I realized that it was 6 o'clock or just 6:15. And I was convinced I was late. And I'd actually only been home about 15 minutes. And I actually drove back to work. And why is it going on here? Why is there? It was one of those, it was like dark at 6. The
real moments, yeah.
Yeah, really weird. Right. Okay. Let's enough about me. Let's move on. So, question 3, which is, this is interesting as well.
Yeah.
What are some realistic steps I can take to build healthier sleep habits during recovery? This is quite a big one, so I wanted to dive into it as quickly as we could.
Yeah. So what they say is that generally good sleepers have good routines. And I think for anyone out there who is having sleep problems, and as I alluded earlier, I don't sleep, but then sometimes I don't follow my own advice. You have to retrain your sleeping. You really have to retrain your sleeping, and it doesn't happen overnight. So when I say good sleepers, our bodies like routine, and it's in what I try and say to everyone is for a minimum of 7 days, if you can do 2 weeks, depending on when I see them again. I want you to try and go to bed at the same time every night. I know we have maybe a cinema, a dinner party, whatever it is, but just try and go to bed at the same time every night. And I want you to set your alarm for the same time every morning, including weekends. Like, oh, did I get a line at the weekend? I'm like, no, because what we're actually doing is we're retraining your rhythm. We have got to get you back into a routine. And so that is really, really important. So good sleepers have good routines. And then what I can do now is just kind of give you some of the tips I say to kind of help with that. So going back to the sleep hygiene kind of bit, where it comes into your environment is so important as well. I remember going to stay with my grandmother, God, many years ago, and I slept in her bed. I dipped in the middle of it. I think she'd had her mattress for about 40 years. And so really basic things like get a good mattress, get a good pillow. There are sometimes things that we just overlook, they probably don't think, but, think actually, is my back hurting me? Do I need a sturdier? Do I need I've got a bad neck. Maybe I need an orthopedic pillow, whatever. But look at those kind of really basic things. Good pillows, good mattress. When it's winter and summer, adjust the togs on your duvet. I need to do that now. I've still got my summer one on. It's a bit cold, so I need to put my 13.5 tog duvet on, because all these things can really make a difference. Do you like to go to sleep in complete darkness, or are you someone who likes to have a night light on? I like complete darkness, so I also have blackout blinds as well, because that really helps me, plus my curtains. And some people like a pillow mask, because it just shuts everything out. Keep your temperature in your bedroom between about 18 and 24. If it's too cold, obviously you're going to be, but equally if it's too hot, you're going to be throwing the covers off at night and things. Some people like a window open. But if you are easily disturbed, you might then hear stuff or, outside and all the rest of it. So kind of think about that. And just what they do say is make sure that your bedroom is only for sleeping. So I often ask in the sleep talk, how many of you, and this is not naming or shaming, but put your hands up, how many of you have got a TV in your bedroom? Well, I'm the first one to put my hand up, because I do have a television in my bedroom, but I don't watch it in bed anymore. I watch it when I do the ironing, or if I do have a lazy morning, because, and a lot of them say, but it's the only way I can get to sleep. It's the only way I can get to sleep with the TV on in the background. And actually, it's become their normal, probably going back to what we're saying, just with that noise. But anything, what I'll normally say is, if you can try half an hour, a minimum of half an hour before is probably better. Don't look at your phone. So I know I say in one way, make sure your phone is there. I said, so you've got that, you know that you can call someone, or if you have that, but try not to look at it. I think particularly in this kind of age we are now, and different bits, everything is digital. People are on Instagram, Facebook, they scroll, you can spend hours and hours. People play lots of games. People say, oh, I love Candy Crush or something, and that takes my mind off things. But all it's doing is stimulating you. It's stimulating your brain. And also there is a lot of research. I'm not going to get into the exact papers or things, but blue lights affect us, our sleep. It affects our natural hormone we make. You may have all heard of this. We make a natural sleep hormone called melatonin. And there's something to do with the blue lights that affects that. So what I say is, try not to look, turn the TV off. If you're going to go to bed at 10:30, maybe try turning the television off at 9:30. Establish a really good routine as well before you go to bed. For me, it's I take my makeup off, I clean my teeth, I'll just have a little pot around, just doing things, but not anything too strenuous and not too stimulating. I don't look at my phone. When I do look at my phone, I stay awake. I don't put the television on. I might sometimes put the radio on or have a podcast just so I can listen it as part of my winding down. But the best thing, and everyone is different again, but the best thing I do is read. And reading is a fantastic thing to help you go to sleep. And the other thing I say is get a great novel or whatever it is that takes you out of those worries of every day. You're reading, get so engrossed in it. Not so engrossed as someone also told me today she stays up until 5 a.m. to read her books. It's so good. But just do that. And there's something about reading that you're physically, your eyes are getting tired as well. I don't have any shares in Kindle Light, but they are very good because they don't have I think it's Kindle Paperlight White, I don't know, but they don't have the blue light. And then also because lots of people say, I don't want to wake my husband, my wife, I don't want to put the light on. So with Kindle, you can just kind of turn it on its side. Another little thing, if you don't want to wake your partner, is get little, have you seen a book light you can get just over your things? I think they're from like WH Smith or somewhere, £3 or £4. You can just put it on your book just so you've got that light there. But make that routine before you go to bed. Have that routine where you aren't watching anything and you're not stimulating your mind. Try and avoid stimulants. So caffeine. Caffeine's a good one. Had someone say, well, I only have a cup of coffee in the morning and then I don't drink any more coffee. And I was going through there and I said, what do you drink in the evening? And he said, well, I have about 5 cups of tea before I go to bed, about the last one at 11. And I said, you do know that tea has almost as much caffeine in it as coffee. Not as much, but it does. So I would say to anyone, don't have any, try and have decaffeinated. There are some really good brands out there. Just try them. I found a really good, I just have, in fact, all I drink now is decaffeinated tea. I still do have some coffee in the morning. I do like my coffee in the morning. But so, and I don't, this is me personally, but everyone can play around with it. I don't have any caffeine after 4 o'clock. That's my cutoff. That would be my cutoff. Remember as well, again, my good old grandmother, she's getting some plugging tonight. She used to say, I'll just have a little drop of whiskey. And she used to have that. She was Irish. She went to bed, just in case my terrible accent, I hope I haven't offended anyone out there. My lovely Irish nanny, she used to have, it wasn't a wee dram, it was and but actually, yes, alcohol can help you get to sleep, but it doesn't give you good quality sleep. And if anyone has known that yes, you're out, but then you often wake up in the night because it's not giving you good quality sleep. So, and also smoking, cigarettes is another stimulant. So, try maybe not to have a cigarette. a couple of hours before, hopefully not at all, but if you do, a couple of hours before, because that can be another stimulant. So there are things that I say to patients to avoid. While I'm on that as well, try not to eat late at night. And the reason, there's several things there. It just sits heavy on your stomach. But so many patients, if I had £1 for every survivor, saying, I just thought I was having a bit of indigestion when they were having their heart attacks, or, they said, I just thought it was indigestion and I had that. Don't give yourself more stress with kind of identify the problem. Don't eat so late so you're not going to get that kind of indigestion feeling, because that can really cause extra stress and anxiety and everything as well, and spark all the memories for some patients that they have. So don't eat late at night if you can. Equally though, don't go to bed hungry. So maybe have like an oat cake or a banana or something. If you are feeling a bit peckish, have something like that just before you go, if you are feeling a little bit hungry. Another thing I'm rattling through, because I can't believe where the time has gone tonight, it's like this: anxiety and stress. And for you survivors, I can't even imagine, it is all of this. Is it, going back to question 1, is this going to happen again? That fear, that, it must be awful. But one thing that tell people to do is, I call it expressive journaling or expressive writing, but just get a little journal. I think we said that anyway about fatigue and when we were talking about it last time, but try and write down any of your worries before you go to bed. And like I say, I have a little journal. I write in my journal before I go to bed, because although the worries are not going to go away, I'm actually not going with them all here. They're more tangible on paper. And just keep your notepad by your bed as well. If you wake up and you think that you want to write anything down.
I'm not a big writer.
Yeah, I'm a huge writer with things like that. It really does help. It really, really does help when you just put something down on paper. Lots of people I've spoken to with sleep things as well say that when they start their new medication, they have quite vivid nightmares. And I think, and if there is anyone medical on here, please don't quote me, but I do think that beta blockers can initially kind of, there is a link there that I think it's in one of the slides, but you can have these quite vivid dreams, or it can cause that. But when you wake from a bad dream, just try and move your body, orientate. I always say sit on the side of the bed, put your feet on the floor, and just try and say, I'm okay, I'm all right. Come up with your own affirmation. Everything is okay. Look at your partner, just, try and reorientate and think of really 5 nice things. I always think of my children. I think of a beach in Barbados that I'd like to be on. Anything that just, makes you happy and brings a smile to your face. But bad dreams can be awful. And some people really do suffer from those. Mm. And then I think my biggest kind of tip is, and lots of people, if you are lying there and you can't, it's been 20 to 30 minutes and you cannot sleep, get up. Now, I know that sounds really counterproductive, but it's what it works. When you are, try not to look at your clock as well, because that's another thing.
Yeah, so as you know, it's been 20 minutes.
Exactly, I know. I mean, but not constantly looking. So you can kind of, maybe have a quick look, but don't keep, because that just, it's been 15, I've got to get to work at 6. I've got, and then you get more and more, your body gets more and more tense, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure. These are all the things we're trying to reduce. You're just getting yourself in more of an anxious state. So if it's been like 20, 30 minutes, or you feel it's just been a significant amount of time, get up, go downstairs. If you're in a flat or a bungalow, go to your kitchen, take a pen and paper. Some people say, write some things down that are worrying you. Get a small drink. Obviously, don't get a huge one, because we don't want to be up to the call of nature again all night. And then just sit there and sit there. Some people say 10, 15 minutes. But some people say just sit there till you're feeling tired again, and then go back to sleep. And there was dear old Dr. Michael Molesley. He did lots of fantastic shows, didn't he, about health and things. And he did one about sleep, and he did this where he was saying get up. And then one night someone had to do it 3 or 4 times, so they did have a really broken sleep. But what it does is, hopefully the next night you may not have to get up 3 times, you only get up twice, and then you're retraining, and try and do that for 7 days. I'm actually looking at one of the things here, and it does say, you know, you may have to keep repeating this, but get up, but don't look at your phone, don't put the TV on, and don't do anything overstimulating, because it's just going to kind of keep you awake. But that would be one of my kind of one of the biggest things I think that works. It certainly works for me when I do it.
Wow.
What fantastic advice.
Oh, sorry, I was a bit rattled off. Sorry.
Absolutely brilliant. The only thing I would add, and I'm just, those are so many helpful pieces of information. What about exercise, Claudine? Because I find if the key to me, if I ever, which is very, very rare for me, a very good sleeper normally, and do follow what you said, those routines, decaffeinated tea and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I also find I walk every day for an hour. If I don't do that for whatever reason, I do find, and that's a walk outside in the fresh air. If I don't do that, I don't know whether it's become like a Pavlovian dog. If I haven't done it, then I'm not going to sleep. I don't know if it's true, but I do find it's easier to sleep if I've had some exercise of some sort, some fresh air.
Absolutely. And actually, what they say is, I'm actually going back into my talk now, is going back to the melatonin I talked about. We produce our own melatonin, our natural sleep hormone. And what they say is, if you can go out for a walk, mid-morning is best, because you can create more melatonin by getting out in the daylight. So yeah, please don't ever look up in the sun without your sunglasses on. But if it's just like a normal day, try and get you're getting those UV rays through the clouds anyway, all the rest of it. But by getting daylight, you're getting your vitamin D, you are going to create your own natural melatonin as well. So, and it goes without saying, doesn't it, that obviously if you are exercising, and if you're doing more physically, it's going to increase your tiredness. What they also say though is, if you are so like I sometimes go to the gym after work, I won't do a class after 8 o'clock. Well, they do be about 7, because if you are exercising too late in the night as well, or later, then it stimulates you as well. So try and exercise 6 would be fine, 7, whatever, but try not to do anything too strenuous before as well. But absolutely goes without saying, get out there, walk. I mean, I think the nice guidelines anyway, post MI, myocardial infarction, are 150 minutes a week of brisk, good exercise, which equates to about 20 minutes of a good walk a week. And just get out there every morning and just get some natural daylight, because that really, really helps. So it's a really good point, Joanna. Yeah, absolutely. That all really helps. I mean, that was a real whiz through there of everything. And there is lots more. But in a synopsis, good sleepers have good routines. Limit your caffeine. Only have your bedroom for sleeping. And they say being intimate as well, you know, and sometimes that can help go to sleep as well. I mean, we talk about these things in our cardiac rehab. If you don't fall asleep, if you're struggling with even getting to sleep and you've not fallen asleep, get up. Maybe you're not sleepy enough. Maybe you're going to bed too early. Play around with things. If you're going to bed at 10 and you're not falling asleep till 10:30, you might just be going to bed a little bit too early. Try going to bed at 10:30 and having a read. Try writing your thoughts down before you go to sleep. These are all really, really basic things. Try blackout blinds. Try try a noise. Some people have AirPods, or you can get so many things now. You can get headbands with speakers in and stuff as well. And some people do like to listen to, again, I don't have shares in Calm or Headspace, but they're very good apps. And they do bedtime stories. And bedtime stories are fantastic audio. I listened to one last night, and I have my phone on a timer as well, so it cuts off and does that. And I think I was asleep within 10 minutes. So, there we go. Yeah, there we are. I could go on and on, as you know.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm just conscious of time, and I do have a question. And you're probably going to hate me and never talk to me again after I ask this. It's not as bad as you might think. If all else fails, and I know you haven't mentioned this at all, but if all else fails, is there any place for medication, like a sleeping pill?
What I would say, I would say if this does go on and it is affecting your real day-to-day, life, there are other things as well. It could be. We used to do where sleep apnea. Some people have sleep apnea where they're snoring, so they're not getting the oxygen and things like that. Go and speak. There can be medical issues. There can be reasons why. So go and speak to your GP. GPs, and quite rightly so, don't like to give out sleeping tablets because they don't want anyone to get addicted to anything. But sure, there are maybe times when you've just got yourself sometimes so like that the GP may feel there is a time and a place to give something, but obviously that's on a one-to-one and an individual basis. And also go to the GP and talk about the medications that you're on. I know that's not, many of particularly the heart medications can't be changed. You're going to be on an aspirin probably for the rest of your life. You're going to be on certain maybe blood pressures or whatever it is. But just go and have that chat with them and talk to them about it, because it might be that they can just sit and look, and there might be something else that they come up with as well. So, yeah, see your GP.
Okay, thank you. Right, that's there's a comment coming from Jan. Right, let me see if I can just bring that up. It says JC. I know Jan. She's a lovely lady. I'm sure you know her as well.
I think I met Jan. Yeah.
And she has worry dolls. So
I love that.
I use Guatemalan worry dolls, which are tiny dolls to tell my worries to, verbalize the worry and leave it to them to deal with overnight. They were given to me many years ago and I still use them.
That's great. Jan, where can I get a Guatemalan worry doll from? I want one.
I'm going to say Guatemala. That's probably the...
Yeah, probably. I'm not going there anytime soon.
You can buy them, I think, in Oxfam. I used to be a teacher in one of my previous lives, and there's a book called Silly Billy, which is all about making worry dolls, because this little boy worries about the worry dolls, what do they do with their worries. It's an absolutely brilliant idea for little children as well as anyone.
I think I'm going to add that to my to my useful point. I think that's fantastic. I think that the key here is just getting those worries out, whether it's on paper, whether it is, I love the idea of that. That is amazing. But just don't internalize them, because there are so many intrusive thoughts and it's just going to raise your anxiety. So yeah. Wow. I'm gonna go and Google Guatemalan worry dogs now. What dogs? Dolls.
Thanks, Jan. That's a brilliant
well.
Here we go. She just said, I'll send a picture to you, as there are different versions. 6 little dolls in a box. That is fantastic.
Amazing.
Okay. It is gone 8 o'clock, so I do need to start wrapping things up. That's been fascinating. I have to say, absolutely fascinating. I've sat here mesmerized. I didn't realize sleep was quite so complicated. It's
I am definitely going to have to watch this through again to write those down. There was so many really good pieces of advice.
I'm sure I probably got some things wrong, but it's just the kind of general. It isn't, but yeah, it's such an important. Obviously, it has such a knock-on effect on everything we do, and for survivors who are already feeling fatigued, sleep is going to be crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I am going to start wrapping things up now for this evening. I do have a new toy that I'm going to play with. For some reason, my software has been upgraded, which basically means all the buttons have been moved and I can't find anything. But I did find one useful new thing. So if anybody did find this episode useful, if you enjoyed it, if you got something from it, do please subscribe to our channel, do like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, that sort of thing. That gets us up the YouTube algorithm ladder. YouTube take us a bit more seriously. The more followers we have, the more subscribers we have, etc., etc. It's totally free, it doesn't cost anything, but it is a way of supporting us because it makes us easier to find when people search, and that means we can reach more people and we can help more people, and that's really what we're here to do. That's what we're trying to do here. But my new thing that I've got to play with, you can also, if you'd like to support SCA UK, there will be a couple of QR codes on the outro video. One's for our shop where you can purchase some merchandise, which is a way of supporting us. There is also a button to donate to SCA UK. We do also now have a text to donate. So if anybody really enjoyed what we did this evening or any of the episodes of SCA UK Live that we've done over the last few months, and they want to support us, we have please text SCA UK to 70470 with a donation amount. And that's a good excuse for me to show my new ticker on the screen. And with that, I am going to wrap it up. Thank you, Claudine, so much once again for being with us this evening. We can't do what we do here. Joanna and I can't do this without experts like yourself giving up your own time to come and talk to us and to come and help our community. So I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to come and join us, not once, but twice over the last few weeks. So thank you so much for that. And it's been absolutely fascinating.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
More than welcome. And you're welcome back anytime. So, Joanna, of course, I think this is the last one of the year.
I think it is, yeah.
We've done SCA UK Live for 2025. Thank you for being my co-host and keeping me on the straight and narrow over the last few months. Although you did float around in the Mediterranean for one of them, you did miss one. I'm never going to forgive you for that. But
only one.
But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And that's it from myself, from Claudine, from Joanna. Thank you for being with us. And we will see you in the new year. And we would like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.